we
So
go.
talk on commercial insurance. So just out of curiosity, what do you do for work, Sonia?
I do health insurance, so I do the marketplace and private plans. So I saw that this was the topic.
Yes.
You know, insurance was the topic today, and I thought, wow, it's a really great opportunity to come and meet some other insurance professionals. So I'm really excited to be here.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful.
It's great to have you.
Yeah.
We usually have about anywhere from about 10 to 20 ladies pop on. So not sure where everyone is today, but we'll see.
It's normal for insurance. I'm like the one they're like, oh, well, it's horrible.
Let me tell you, after talking to Stephanie for myself, I wound up getting a different type of business insurance as well as an umbrella insurance.
Yeah.
And I had Stephanie review all my home insurance, my car insurance. She helped me change some things I didn't understand. So we as women, I don't care if you're men, women, children, you need to be educating yourself, your young adults, on insurance. Whether you're running a business, you definitely need to be educating yourself on business insurance, which a lot of people do not have, and they don't want to spend money, and they think they're going to get away with it until that one time that someone gets pissed off and tries to sue you.
That's right.
Honestly, that's exactly what happens because they don't like the advice you gave them or whatever. I mean, I have insurance with the community I run, as well as insurance in my coaching practice. So I have insurance for, all different things. And then now I have an umbrella insurance that covers me even on top of that. So
right. Good for you.
Sonia, we're happy Dawn's popping in here as well. So Sonia, just so that you know, and hi Dawn, nice to see you guys. We do these every Tuesday, and every Tuesday we have a different subject. Today's subject is going to be about business, auto, and home insurance. So we're going to touch on all those. Stephanie is someone I believe everyone needs to have in their pocket. I review everything through Stephanie because she's trustworthy, she's honest, she has integrity, and I really find that tough to find.
Yeah,
you're working with people in that industry. So I like it that she takes the time to explain things to me and gives me definitions of why I need certain coverages and what I want to avoid happening, that could happen. And I think that's the education we all need, right? We just kind of go through life like, oh, okay, is that the coverage I need? Great, I'll take it. We don't even know why.
Yeah.
Stephanie explains the why. So I had her come talk to a group of my clients, and then now she's talking to the community. So I'm really happy that she's here to share that information. Next week, we have Katrina Sawa on September 28th, and she's going to be talking to us all about how to develop a speaking topic to make people want what you've got.
Oh, interesting.
So it's all about that. So
that's neat.
Create a speaking topic where people want to work with you. They want to know, how do I get more of what you got? How do I, connect with you? So again, she's going to give us some really great tips. And no matter if you're speaking on stage, on a podcast, or in a setting like today, effective communication is so important. So you're getting your point across. So she'll be teaching that to us. So you can join us next Tuesday, and I'll put the link in the chat as well. And of course, these platforms are reserved for our members to be able to bring forth their genius, to talk to the community about what they have to offer. And we have a lot of women that also watch on Facebook. That's why I went live on Facebook, because they catch it later. So make sure afterwards, Stephanie, any links that you drop in chat here, that you go drop them in the Facebook page as well, so that those out there can click on those links and get whatever you have to offer today.
Great idea. Good. No, thank you.
And I'm just going to hand it over to you to go ahead and start sharing.
Wonderful. Thanks, Colleen. How cool. Yeah, I'm used to everyone's like insurance is kind of like, when you're going to cocktail parties, you're like, oh, and I'm like, oh, I direct funerals for a living. They're like, oh, or I'm a tax auditor. And I'm like, I sell insurance. Same response. It's fine. I'm used to it. But I think it's so important because, man, unless you yourself have had a claim, knock on wood, or an immediate family, no one knows. They think it's all covered, and they think it's all, just it should be covered and it'll be seamless. And knock on wood, that never happens, but a lot of times it doesn't. And so actuarially, the average person will spend more in a lifetime on their auto insurance than their lawyer, doctor, and CPA combined. So it's a lot of money for spend just even for the traditional auto insurance that you want to make sure, man, if I'm spending, you know, $100, if this is what I get, if I spend 105 and I have that much more protection, insurance is very Costco-y. The more you buy, the less it is. And there are different types of places, man, if I could spend your money on the things that I tell people, you know, when you look at whether it's business insurance or auto insurance, there's two types of losses. The stuff that's going to make your day bad, right? The stuff you're like, dang it, that's a pain in the neck, or I wish this was covered because now I have to go out of pocket and blah, blah, blah. Then there's losses that ruin your life financially. And that's the stuff we spend our money on. You know what I mean? Ideally, if we have enough money, we'll spend it on both. But that's my goal for everyone, is to make sure, man, the stuff, if there is a claim yesterday, we want to make sure that you have enough coverage to be able to maintain your same lifestyle, maintain your same profession, keep all your staff, and not have to close up shop because of one uncovered claim. So that's what's so neat, because a lot of times when people start their own company, they're used to working for the traditional employer, where the employer handles all of it. And what happens is when someone decides to, I want to make soaps and go sell it, or I want to, you know, start a life coach. I've developed a, successful practice on my own, and I want to share it. Or I've always loved photography. I want to be able to do that on the side, or whatever you got going. They think, well, if I start small, I should be just fine. And a lot of times people are, thankfully, but that one, to Colleen's point, there's one time, it's Murphy's Laws, why I have a job, right? is keeps me in business. So it's that one claim that can make you close up shop, and especially as small business owners, you put your heart, your soul, and your usually every single penny you have into it on the startup, that we want to make sure. I think people new in business, that's the ones who they should have insurance more than anything, because you're not necessarily knowing all the rules of the road. And then, like you said, there's a lot of claims that can happen. And then Don, real quick, I know Sunny does health insurance. What's your job? What do you do for your work?
Me?
Yeah.
I empower and educate female entrepreneurs about the business and the tax side of their business.
Ooh.
Empower them to become true CEOs. And so insurance actually came up. I do a business basics, business builders boot camp. I do one every other month. It's coming up at the end of October. And it was one of the topics that I brought up, and people were like, it was insurance.
Yeah.
And cyber liability insurance.
Yes.
And they were like, what? I never even heard of that. I'm like, yeah, you need to know about this stuff. It's not, and we talk about incorporating, because,
Sure.
Incorporating gives you that corporate veil. That's one layer of protection. So that's one thing you can do to protect your personal assets. And then insurance, you have to be educated. So you and I will chat. I will put my information in, or Colleen can share it, because I want you to come speak to my members about everything you're going to be talking about today. I already know
Thanks.
that I'm really happy that I popped in, because
Me
I've
too.
been looking for somebody, because it's so important. I mean, I've been in business for 31 years. I've been an entrepreneur for 31 years. I have a personal umbrella policy. I have a business like, I don't mess around. Like, I know the kind of crazy stuff that can happen, and the kind of, like, you don't even think about it, but then all of a sudden I had a client that sued us. This was my event company, because she sat down on a chair and the chair broke. Now, she was 385 pounds.
Yeah.
But the chair broke and it fell, and she sued all of us. She sued the chair company, the event site. She sued everybody, because it's stuff like that. You don't see it coming. You don't know. So, and most businesses, there's that random thing out there, that thing that, like, you don't see coming, but especially, like, you have a lot of people, right? And I don't mean to take over your talk, but there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of, I call them accidental entrepreneurs, right? Yes. They are people who have, I think you kind of alluded to it. They started a coaching business because they're really good at helping people. So they're like, oh, I can do this as a business. I can help people that have been through trauma to come, or Oh, I love this skincare that I just tried. I'm going to tell everybody about it. There's a liability attached to telling people about skincare. You're not covered.
Right. You're not covered. That is I'm so thankful to have that perspective, because it's a perfect description, right? I've done my own skincare. I'm well qualified. I have home insurance. So I should be covered. And home insurance never in any carrier ever covers business pursuits. And so a lot of times when you're starting in a small business, they think, man, in some types of businesses, you are covered if you tell your insurance agent about coverage from, like say a Mary Kay concept or whatever the case is, just small, jewelry sales. You can get that coverage on what's called business pursuits on your home insurance. But anytime you're giving someone advice, that's when the different kind comes up. So thank you for
your personal umbrella policy doesn't cover you for business, right?
No, that's exactly right. Good for you, lady. How perfect. We're tag team. And it's exactly so. But because Sonny's in health insurance, which is I don't touch the stuff. It's outside my wheelhouse. I don't even know what my deductibles are kind of left. Who knows? Do either of you know the main difference between general and professional liability? Any ideas? Nope. Yeah.
I still don't know. And I know you taught me this, but I still don't know.
It's so crazy. So professional general liability is the big difference is it's not related to the it's when someone gets hurt that's not related to the business that you do. So the best example is a trip and fall. So if you're, if you have a little, salon and then someone comes in and slips on a wet floor or your little office space or whatever, and someone comes and they trip and fall is the best example. It has nothing to do with your job. So same thing, Donna, at that event company, she sat down at a chair. It had nothing to do with what you guys did, but she hurt herself. Then that's a general liability policy. So that's that coverage that kicks in. So depending on the type of job, so I have a guy who does makes jewelry and stuff and sells it on Etsy. So from a general liability standpoint, he might not have that type of risk. But professional liability, I call it the normal person's malpractice. That's the best way to envision it, or errors and omissions. But professional liability falls on where anything that you do in the day-to-day interaction of your job causes harm to someone. That's when that policy kicks in. I gave bad advice, or I sold them the wrong skin stuff and they broke out, or I did photography for this gal's wedding and the bride thinks I made her look 900 pounds. Now she's going to not pay me for the wedding and sue me because I made her hurt her feelings or whatever. Oh, brother, you just the craziest stuff. So that is the type of policy you have. So the neat thing is, depending on the type of job you have, you can get a lot of coverages under one policy. The general liability, we'll talk about cyber in a second. And then professional liability, like for, say, I'm with farmers, but like say farmers will cover professional liability for hairstylists in the one policy, but for coaches and most other jobs, you got to get a little standalone policy. So the biggest thing I always talk about for people is professional liability, because that's where we are a sue-happy society. But I also insure one gal, she's nice enough on the day-to-day, but she has shared, she has accidentally fallen in 5 different stores in the last 10 years, bad luck. She's made over $180,000. And so I think that's what keeps her in slippers and falling in stores. And it's crazy. I'm like, ma'am, I go, really? She goes, yeah, but I said, oh, brother, do you have to go through insurance? And she goes, oh yeah, I made $180,000. I'm like, okay, boy, you know what I mean? And so that's that general liability policy for that business owner, small or big, that kicks in. So a lot of times when people are doing coaching type of businesses and classes, they host seminars at a hotel, pre-corona. Hopefully it's getting back to it. So the question is, do you guys have an idea? Do I need an event insurance? Would I need a general liability policy or professional? Any ideas, you guys?
Well, I hope it's whichever one I have, because I do host them. So I
Oh,
host them
so
at hotels 4 times a year, so I'm
Yes.
hoping that I have the right coverage.
You do. So
would
you
the hotels insurance not cover you?
Yeah, so no, not from, so if you're hosting an event, so they require you, a lot of hotels to show proof of insurance. I'm sure Colleen has the same thing. And you can do event insurance. So you can do an event insurance on a one-off basis. I do it twice a year, I do it 4 times a year, or I'm just gonna go in with a couple other coaches and we're gonna just do it once. We might have, beer and wine, or we might just not, not host food. But the average cost of event insurance is $250 for the event. But that provides general liability for the slip and falls. But if you give bad advice at that doesn't cover it on event insurance.
Isn't that per day? That's not total, right? Isn't that per day?
Right, exactly, per
That's
day.
per day. Yeah.
Mhm. So what's so cool is if you get a traditional policy, a general liability policy, that covers events anywhere in the country that you do for say $600 a year, but it also comes with tons of other bells and whistles. So that's where, depending on the need, a lot of times you can do a one-off event insurance, but financially it probably would make sense to just get one that covers you regardless. That's for sure.
That's what I have.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly what you have. Yep. And you want to make sure when you talk to your insurance advisor to think, as you start to explore, man, I am going to start coaching some classes. You want to make sure you have that right policy in place to be able to do so. So off-premise coverage can also be covered on general liability that way. Any questions yet so far? Not yet. All right. So then the next coverage is you bring your laptop and your PowerPoint to the hotel, or you bring it. Is it covered under home insurance, whether it's offsite or on premise, or do I need my own policy? What do you guys think?
I actually don't remember.
Yep. There is a little bit of coverage on home or renters policies for business coverage. It's usually about $1,000 or $1,500. But the biggest, a lot of stipulations on home insurance is that one of the biggest deciding factors if it's covered or not, it's going to be foot traffic, right? So do you have people coming in all the time, then home insurance now won't cover it. But if you have your laptop at a Starbucks and you go to the bathroom and their dang laptop's gone, that's where they kind of would. So it just depends on most jobs at this stage of the game have minimal in terms of electronics, some don't, but you'll want to find out whether that happens. So Don, this happens all the time. You wouldn't think so, because you hear the big claims, like Target and all these big major companies being targeted for cyber liability. I answered my question. But what it says is, dang it, I'm playing my own game. But cyber liability is the coverage that protects you if someone hacks into your system and takes your information. It's so crazy. It happens all the time. And so especially as entrepreneurs, like even Colleen, you're taking money for, events, or Don, same sure with you, with people signing up for your seminars. You're taking on people's information. So you can get a cyber liability policy as a standalone, but I wouldn't. I would just, it's cheaper and easier to just throw it in that one I call package policy to be able to protect you. I mean, we had one restaurant who, he was just a small, tiny guy who has like 30 tables, but there was a ring of theft in the same kind of restaurant chain. Anyway, they stole his credit card. This is before I met him. They stole his credit card point of sale machine. They took everyone's, and now because he didn't have the coverage, he as a business owner have to pay to monitor everyone's credit for a year, plus pay to defend all of those other things. And if he would have just had a normal traditional policy, man, it would have been covered. But isn't that crazy when you think as a small business owner, man, you have a hard enough time generating capital to do leads, to be able to do more customers, to be able to get a margin. And then once you're up and running, can you imagine giving that all away to pay for, 50 people's, dang credit cards? It's so bananas. It's so crazy, but brother, it happens all the time. All right. Workers' comp. Do you, if you have a part-time staff, need a workers' comp policy in force?
Yes.
Yes, you do. Even part-time. So part-time, you have to have coverage in force. So I think it's last time I looked, it was like a $5,000 fine if knock on wood, if you had an employee part-time or full and they got hurt on the job and you don't have coverage, it's at least I think it's a $5,000 fine from the state. But this is the way the state protects people who work for small businesses or big businesses to make sure they have the coverage. But then it goes down to the next question is but I only use some contractors in 1099s. I don't have to worry if they have coverage, right? So this is by far the biggest gray area in coverage. That's what I like about insurance is it's very black and white, right? There's not a lot of variables. If this happens, then this is covered. But if this happens, it's either covered or excluded. It's very, very easy. That's why I've always really liked it, except with workers' comp in this topic. It's very great. So what happens is, if you have a workers' comp, you have to report how much you paid in subcontractors. And if the subcontractors that you use have to have their own insurance. And if they don't have their own insurance and you do an audit, a workers' comp audit, then and you get it, then you'll have to pay, assuming that they were on your payroll. So it's a very big unexpected bill. So what happens though is if you don't have any employees, then you won't do an audit whatsoever, even for part-time. So then as a business owner, the best practices is to require whoever you work with or who works for you or represents you on a part-time subcontractor basis, they got to have their own insurance. They have to. So, there are what's called ghost policies, which is essentially like, I don't have any staff and, but I want to get on with, a consulting company and do it. But they say you got to have, workers' comp. And you're like, man, how am I going to have workers' comp? I don't have an employees. You can buy one as an owner. It's silly, but you can, you don't pay for yourself to protect it, but you have that policy. So that company, if I get hurt doing work for them, that company now has that peace of mind. I can't sue. So how workers' comp is you cannot sue your employer if you get hurt if they offer workers' comp. So it's one or the other. And so what happens is if you get hurt and you don't have workers' comp, that's what allows the person to sue a company, big or small, to get coverage. So as a small business owner, you protect yourself to say, if we're going to work together, you need to be insured. You got to have liability. So if you hurt someone on your own, you're not rolling up under mine. And then you need to have workers' comp. So like using that example done for like say a wedding, right? When you did event insurance, if you're the event planner, you got to make sure the caterer, the bartender, the DJ, the wait staff all have their own insurance. Because what happens is if there is a thing that goes down and the gal gets hurt on the chair, a lawyer will have them sue every entity in there. And if say it was a caterer's job to provide the chairs and they just had a chair that, I've broken chairs. You know what I mean? I'm not petite, I've broken chairs. They will, if they don't have their own insurance, then you as the event planner will then start taking the heat. So that kind of to your point, you use the word veil. You got to make sure your vendors have insurance. Otherwise, if they don't, it's going to roll up under you. So that's kind of
a big deal. Everything you're talking about is a big deal. And I know all of it firsthand. This was with my previous company. We had about 150 employees. We got to the point where we would not hire subcontractors at all. Everybody who worked for us had to go on payroll. And it was specifically because of this. It was specifically because of liability. And they didn't want to be on payroll. They're like, no, I'm a subcontractor. We're like, well, we won't work with you unless you get on our payroll, because it's the only way we know we're completely covered from a liability standpoint. And then to your point, I mean, we used a lot of subcontractors and it was a constant, like, send over your certificate of insurance, send over, like, we need this stuff before we come in to do the event. And a lot of people didn't have it. They were small shops. They didn't have all that stuff. So they kept trying to like avoid it, or like, oh, my assistant's going to find it. We're like, we're not coming to your site. The truck is not leaving unless we have your COI.
That's right.
But not leaving, the truck's not rolling out. Like, it's a big deal, because all it takes is to get burned once. We've been burned. We've been sued. We've been plenty of times. That's all it takes is for you to get super serious about it super quick.
Exactly. And what, the big thing is like the craziest stuff that a lot of times people are like, I would never hurt someone. No one ever hurts someone on purpose. So I have a gal who I met, I don't work with, but she was telling me at a leads group a couple of years ago that she hosted cooking classes, just a one-man band or whatever. She has her little shop and she goes in people's homes and does cooking classes. Well, anyway, one of the dishes that she ended up doing a cooking class for had olives, and she bought non-pitted olives or whatever, what's called seeds or whatever pits. Anyway, it turns out one of the guests bit down on an olive that she served at her class, broke her damn tooth. But of course, because this is how insurance works, it's never just, oh man, my tooth. So she had to go to the dentist, and then it had to get infected, and then it had this, she wasn't trying to scam the system. She really was genuinely hurt. But what happened was this gal who was just a member showing up to fun, cooking class dinner, now has this whole event. So she ends up suing the gal who served her the olive. And the gal's like, well, I bought it and it's supposed to be unpitted. So if she had insurance, the insurance company would have made this gal whole. And then the insurance company would have subrogated on the olive coat, saying, what the heck?
Sure.
But since that didn't happen, she had to pay out of pocket. Crazy. But it had nothing to do with her. The biggest, if you have friends or family who are handymans, this is the biggest one I always do, because these guys and gals go in if they don't have to have a license, if they do under a certain threshold of a job, like $700 or $300. So there's little onesie, but they have to have insurance, because this is where I always learn things, the hard way myself. But this is one where I talked to a handyman, and we're buddies, but I don't insure him. And he called me, man, whenever it was. And he goes, Steph, I never got workers' comp because I've just been, he's a one-man band. I just use people to come into the job and help me when I'm behind. But one of my guys got hurt today. And I'm like, oh, brother. And of course, it's never just the little paper cut. He was his own person, his own little subcontractor who didn't have insurance, and his own little subcontractor using his own tool. And he slipped on the job, and the screwdriver went into his eye. And so we're like, shoot. And so anyway, long story short, I would use more language than that. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, I got very well versed on his behalf. I felt like Judge Judy. I talked to like 9 attorneys. I have buddies with like a lot of different kinds of attorneys just for that reason. So I'm like, what the hell? And so anyway, because he didn't have workers' comp, this handyman who is not an employee and hurt himself with his own tool can come and sue. Well, of course, he lost his eye. Of course, he can't work. And now my little guy just got a letter. It's been 4 months, so he thought it was fine. No, it's been 6 months. And he just got the letter. And they were friends, but I don't blame the guy. You know what I mean? If anyone is in that situation, your intent was, I'll just fix it myself. But if you get to an extreme deal like the tooth thing or the eye, you're going to sue. And unfortunately, that's just how it works. But to be able to have that peace of mind as a business owner, that your financial plan for your family and what you leave behind doesn't go by the wayside because of one claim. That's why I tell people, man, there's 2 costs of insurance, right? What you pay every month for insurance and what you pay out of pocket if there's an uncovered claim. And I'd always bet on what you pay monthly, because I'm such a planner. You know what I mean? Hell, I don't know what it does to fix a tooth or a dang, eye out, for the love of Pete. So that to me is worth its weight in gold. Okay. Any questions yet?
No, this is awesome.
Thank you. Even it's just neat to have, like you said, real life examples. And I'm sorry that happened, but that is, I'm so appreciative of you sharing that, because that happens all the time. When I did this one workshop, the other gal, she was a business consultant for a franchise company. And what happened is, and I think, Colleen, we've all had people where we give them the magic recipe for success, and then they don't do it. And then they want to come back and sue you, even though they didn't do what it takes. And so this franchise gal, same thing, right? She had a franchisee sue her and the company, with meaning 1 or 2 people or whatever, because they didn't follow the magic recipe or follow it properly. But when someone's going down, they're grabbing for straws, because if it's a matter of them eating that day and their family keeping it, they're going to go for it. So that's why we just make sure it's not on our dime. And everyone's really nice and honest until sometimes they're not. And so even on a small business owner, if you have that one admin who helps you with registration for a big event, or if you have something happening where they have access to cash and they stole all that registration, where do you think it's covered on your home insurance? Nah, we already know that because it's not covered under business stuff. But it's a coverage called employee dishonesty. And so if someone's going to Vegas on your dime, not bringing you with you, then you need that coverage. And the cool thing is that falls into a package policy, because you can't buy it standalone. But when you get that one little package policy that comes with event insurance and the trip and fall insurance, cyber liability insurance, it covers if someone's stealing you, so that's an important thing. So that is part of the package policy. So employee dishonesty is a coverage that unfortunately you will end up finding more often that you might need. Mm-hmm. All right, and then the last one I don't have on. Oh, let me see. I don't have it. Is if there is a coverage called EPLI. And it stands for Employment Practices Liability. And what this means is this is actually, of course, more common than it's when, as a boss, as an owner, you have one of your employees say that you didn't promote them for whatever reason, you didn't hire them for whatever reason, you were making out with your employees, or people were harassing the staff and you didn't do as a boss anything about them. Then they can come back and sue you. So EPLI is that coverage as a business owner. It's usually like $50,000, but it gives you the ability to have protection. So if one of your employees says you didn't treat me well because of XYZ, and they sue you, which happens, then you'll have that coverage. Again, you cannot buy it standalone. It has to go in that package policy. But we're talking, again, package policies, $50, $60 a month, which is nothing compared to an out-covered claim. And that's to get all the bells and whistles. So the best way to do it is a package policy from that regard. All right, any other questions on that?
I don't know why people don't have business insurance. It just blows my mind. Yeah. That I even have clients that I've introduced this to over and over again, and they still don't have business insurance. So it's a risk, and it's going to get to a point that someone's going to sue them before they realize they should have gotten it, and that's sad, but we should never get to that point, right? Your responsibility as a empowered CEO, right, Dawn, is that you run your business like a true business, and that's going to have some fees. And those fees, it's like, if you want to be a responsible driver at 16, we teach our children that you have to get your car registered and you have to pay car insurance. That's the responsible thing to do if you're out there driving on the road. And so it's no different when you're running a business. It's the responsible thing to do when you're running a business, is to have a tax ID number and an entity and have business insurance to protect you and those you serve.
That's right. I think the concept is I'm just a small one-man shop, or, I'll wait till I have a lot of revenue, or I'll wait till I hire my first employee. And, that's insurance regardless of the topic in general, right? But, I always operate on the fact of there will be a time where you're going to need it. And if you could have bought it the day before, you would have, right? And so that's where we always tell people proactively is, I would rather say, I'm so thankful I spend the $50, $60 a month, depending on what you and not need it, then need it and not have it. And
which today is a great example, because our Teaching Tuesdays have been going on for 3 years, and we do them every week. And I've had no less than 16 people at every Teaching Tuesday. Right. And today we're talking about insurance, and there's 3 of us here. I mean, it just goes to show that people don't want to learn about it, be educated about it, deal with it. But it is number one of the things that you must be covered in when you own a business and you're doing any advice, giving any advice, selling products, selling services. You have to be covered. Yeah.
Unfortunately, insurance and taxes are just not sexy.
They're not sexy.
You can, I'm working hard, taxes and tequila, calling, I'm working hard to make it fun. But at the end of the day, it's so necessary. And it's So for me, I'm thrilled that I'm here. I'm thrilled to hear the way that you present the information. I love your sheet and your questions and presencing these things in front of people. I already friended you on Facebook, and we'll connect, and you'll come in and talk to my group, because I feel like, as for Hey Taxi and what we do, I need to put you in front of them, probably not just once, but multiple times, because it's something that people, it's one of those head in the sand things, right? It's one of those things that people just avoid. And to my point earlier, there's a lot of accidental entrepreneurs out there, and they just don't know what they don't know. Mm-hmm. And having insurance is something, well, they're like, oh, I'm not incorporated. I'm not even a business. I'm a sole proprietor. Yeah, you're still liable, even more so because you have no corporate veil protection. So now you're doubly exposed, right? And so, and I think your point about, you never think it's going to happen to you until it happened to you. Employee theft, like, I mean, this was back my other company, but we had our CFO over the course of years in different ways stole $800,000 from the company. And because they had good insurance, they were able to get some of that back through various channels, like because of the different ways that he stole it and different parties that were actually liable, and because they had insurance. But $800,000, and so yeah, insurance it's thank God.
Yeah, I was one of the auditors with Farmers. Our admin role is called a customer service rep, and as an agency owner, usually you don't touch the money as much on a day-to-day, but it's been proven that it's the long-term employees that cause more of the theft than the new people. You know what I mean? Because it's just, or something happens and they get in their life and they need it, and so they think, I'll fix it. So it's just, it's the things you never know. But no, I'm just thankful for that, because I think, what I try and do is keep insurance fun and exciting, because I think it is anyway, but I also want to keep it easy. So many people think it's more complicated than it is, because they use all these bananas, terms. And I'm like, hell, it's just either a home policy for your business, you own it or you rent it, and then you go from there. And I think a lot of people think it's more expensive than it is. But I tell people the average life insurance policy and the average commercial insurance is probably a fraction of your cell phone bill every month. And that peace of mind you have is just worth its weight in gold. And then that's the other thing I always tell people, man, you're insuring your iPhone, which, I do, but for more than you do your business that you're killing yourself for and putting every dime your family will have down the road. And you're not, what? Right. But going to car insurance is so funny. I love to play blackjack. I haven't been back since Corona, but I love to play. And one of the, I still think of it, one of the dealers said, when they get the ace and they go insurance, this gal next to me, she goes, I don't have insurance in my car. Why am I going to have it on my cards? And I'm like, lady, I know it. So the auto insurance is a key, because a lot of people, including myself before Farmers, I thought I had full coverage of my windshields. Okay, right? So I had no idea what it meant, but who knows? Raise your hand. What is the definition of full coverage? Do either any of you guys know?
I still don't know. And I know you taught me, and we've been through this already, and I still don't know.
Full coverage. So this is the biggest misconception, right? I have full coverage. And again, I was one of them. I know I have full coverage in my windshield school. And so the technical definition of full coverage means you have bodily injury on an underinsured, and you have deductibles. It doesn't mean you have good coverage. It doesn't mean you have all the coverage you need. It just means you have deductibles to put your car back together. It doesn't mean you have rental car or glass or towing. It just means you have deductibles. So kind of like when we talked about insurance on the commercial side, when I talk about auto insurance for people, this is the stuff. This is the stuff I'm going to review that if you are in an accident, whether at fault or fault-free, is the stuff, if it's not in place, it's going to ruin your life financially. This is the stuff that if it's not enforced is going to ruin your day. It's going to be like, oh, I got to rent a car now if I didn't have the rental car coverage, or dang it, I got to, ante up and have someone help me pay or to repair or replace my car because, I didn't have the deductibles on it. That stuff we know. I can tell you exactly how much a 2018 Toyota RAV4 will cost. I know exactly it. But now the person I heard in that RAV4, it's an unknown number. And so that's where we go to it. So this coverage kicks in when you are at fault in an accident, and it stands for bodily injury and property damage. The first number is what pays for the other party when you're at fault, one person. It pays for their medical bills, their time off work, their pain and suffering, and then any lawsuits that come. $300,000 pays for the whole accident. But how insurance works, like commercial, is it after this limit, then you are now out of coverage and now you are into your own pocket. And it doesn't have to be a dramatic accident to cost anymore. And Sonia knows that with health insurance, brother, you know what I mean? Like, I think an ambulance ride's $5,000 for the love of Pete. And then $100,000 pays for what you hit in an accident. So it pays for the car or cars or street pole. Fun fact, in the city of Scottsdale, I don't know all the cities, but city of Scottsdale, if you get in a knock on wood in an accident and you knock down one of their street poles, guess what they're charging you to replace it? $25,000. So if you hit a Tesla that runs into that damn street pole, forget about it. So I insure a claims adjuster for USAA. My personal recommendation is I don't like to sell anything under $100,000 per person. You can go all the way up to $500,000 for $10 a month. It's really cheap to diesel. But I don't sell because I'm like, it's not going to help me anyway. We'll both, you'll spend your money and we'll both feel bad if there's a claim. But I had just last week, a USAA adjuster who I have $100,000 per person on, and she called, she goes, you got to increase me. And she goes, I got to get an umbrella. And I said, why? I mean, you're in the business. What the heck? Which I think she should have had anyway. But she goes, I just paid out a claim 2 weeks prior to our customer, USAA customer, who hit a Ferrari. There was $238,000 and they had $100,000 per person. So this guy, USAA said, here's your $100,000. And every insurance company would do the same, But anyway, now she watched this guy start she said a full grown man just started sobbing when she gave him the claim check. He goes, I don't, $138,000 out of pocket to replace it. There's no way. Your only option is what, bank? I don't even know what your options are. And so, but to get the best coverage, $8 a month, $10 a month, it's crazy. So anywho, bodily injuries when you are at fault in an accident, not going. So to me, what's more important is when you protecting you and anyone in your car when you're fault free in an accident. So that UM stands for uninsured and UIM stands for underinsured. So if heaven forbid someone smushes you guys and they don't have any insurance or it's a hit and run, or they have insurance, but it's not enough to put your body back together, then you have $100,000 per person, and then $300,000 for the whole accident to put everyone in your car back together from your medical bills, your time off work, your pain and suffering, and of course, any lawsuits that go on then. The key with insurance, that's why I always want people to have high coverage, is you cannot have underinsured higher than you do for others. Right? Because then we would all just do this, I'd be like, I'm a good driver. I'll have $100,000 per person, but I'm going to keep $500,000 for myself because there's so many not good drivers out there. It does not work that way. So this is the stuff that I care about the most. Medical coverage, just to touch on that, it's a good faith. So it doesn't matter if you're at fault or you're fault free. You take your girlfriend to lunch and you slam her fingers in the door. It's designed to say, go get checked out. Go, let me go, tape up your hands and get you covered so you don't come back and sue me. So that's what the medical coverage is. The next two are your deductibles. So average is either $500 or $1,000. And what this is you're paying this money first, and then the insurance company pays to get your car back. So a comprehensive if your car were stolen, or a tree falls on it, or it's hail damage. You're paying the first $500, and then the insurance company pays the rest. And collision is exactly what it sounds like. You hit your own house, or you hit someone else, or someone hits you and they drive away. You're colliding with something. You are doing $500, $500, and then the insurance company pays the rest. So that's what makes you full coverage, and that is just your deductible. So you're paying that first part first, and then the rest. Insurance in general, same thing with health insurance, right? The higher the deductible, the lower the cost. So it gets you going. And then the other stuff's bells and whistles. So I think this is really neat. Towing, rental, and glass. Glass coverage. Oh man, it's so interesting with the how they're doing all the sensors in the car. The average glass claim used to be $200-300 to get a whole new windshield, not a big deal. Now with the fancier cars, they have to what's called calibrate your car. So they give you a windshield, and then either that provider, you have to take it in. Then they have to do all sorts of lasers and get you calibrated. Some fancy cars, just to get a windshield cover, the windshield fixer has to drive your car over a certain speed limit to reset it. It's so crazy. So the average windshield claim is, man, from $200-300 total to, man, 13. We had a $1,700 claim just for a windshield. Isn't that bananas? But I think that that's so telltale of why insurance, whether it's health or P&C, go up. Because I tell people, insurance, the reason insurance continues to go up, unfortunately, always will, is because for what it pays for, right? So it's the medical costs that are just bananas. And then the lawyers on the auto side, Nevada is worse than Arizona, but not by far, that it's, at least this is in, I haven't found 2020 statistics. In 19, over 33% of all auto accidents have a lawyer attached. And not all of them need them, but they do, right? Because the Goldberg law offices of the world say you can get rich if you get us involved. And sometimes you need a lawyer, but it just drives everyone's cost up. So that's how that works. Isn't that crazy? You guys have any questions on auto insurance?
If
Yeah, I have
someone
a
doesn't have glass coverage, I don't know why they wouldn't. I do. So
For sure.
I have a question. I'm sorry, I stepped away for a moment if you covered this, but it's a raging debate within my family, especially when we travel, of whether or not our auto insurance covers a rental car. And so my insurance company, who I've called on this 3 different times over the years, says that I always need to get the rental car company's insurance, it's super expensive because it's not really covered in any insurance policy. And then, other people are being told different things. And so I just wanted to kind of generally.
that's a great question, Dawn.
I know that, damage would be covered, but where they get you is you're taking, like, if you do damage to their car,
Mm-hmm.
maybe your insurance company covers the damage, but the car's being taken out of commission for 2 to 3 weeks while they repair it, and they're charging you the cost of having the car not be in play for that entire time, and that's where they get you. That's what my insurance company told me is the part that's not covered by them and most other insurance companies. So what's your take on that?
Exactly. So insurance follows the car first and then the driver, and that extends into rental car companies. So if you have full coverage, meaning you have deductibles on your car at home, and you go into Enterprise to rent a car, there is no need to buy their insurance to put the car back together or knock them with a body that gets smushed in an accident. Your auto insurance back home will pay for it. They're right. The only coverage that your home policy will not pay for, say Enterprise, is that if it is in the shop for a week or 2 weeks because of the fender bender, they'll charge you $1 amount per day for the loss of time in the rental pool. I love insurance. I believe insurance myself. I personally do not buy rental car insurance because the odds of it happening, knock on wood, are lower. And the insurance company on insurance policy on like the Enterprises, brother, it's like $20 or $30 a day. It's substantial. And I'm like, man, I would rather, that's my risk preference, and I'm like a, risk averse person anyway. I personally don't do it. But I'm so glad you brought it up, because moving, if your insurance follows you and then as a car and then the driver, but if you're renting a U-Haul to help your kid move or whatever, is that covered? No, because that's business use, right? Normal insurance never covers business use, and that applies to commercial insurance, that applies to auto. So if you rent a U-Haul, you go to Home Depot and rent a trailer to move rocks or whatever you got going. If you get one of those cars, you have to get their insurance, because normal insurance does not cover business pursuits, and it's a business use car, even though you're just using it to move your kids' stuff. So as an example, we have a guy who is helping his kid move from apartment to apartment in a big truck, you know, which how many people drive that very often, and he hit the awning of the apartment complex, which you can see how easy it is to do. He didn't damage the truck, but he damaged the awning. Like 2 or 3 stalls worth, because it's like a thing. Not covered. So he had to pay to fix this damn apartment complex awning because it's not covered under your personal policy. So always throw it in and tell people, as you know, if they're moving, they're like, if you're moving, get the auto insurance that comes with the U-Haul, because it's a very, it's usually not dramatic, but it's pretty expensive.
That's good to know about rental cars. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think also to your point with that glass is, oh man, it's just, for at least most insurance companies are the same. Like for our glass, no kidding, it's like, $3 a month, if that. It's literally nothing. So and
if you live in Arizona, like we do, where there's rocks everywhere, I've had 5 replaced in a year because they just keep getting whacked.
Right. And it depends on the type of car and how their windshield sits, but it is so common. So yeah, always, I always recommend that. And I know we are finishing up, but I want to talk about 2 quick things on home insurance. Home or renters, same thing. Especially with the cost of construction going up, if you own a home and you have not talked to your insurance agent lately, it'd be important to call, because the insurance companies behind the scenes, farmers included, will bump up the replacement cost of your home based on construction materials every year behind the scenes. And someone's literally full-time job is to make sure behind the scenes that they are doing it. But if you did a remodel, or if you did something and you're like, I can't wait to tell my insurance agent about it. Never happens. Call them and tell them. So I always tell people, man, I want to review at least once a year, not to sell you more, just to make sure what you have is what you need. But so many times the intent's there, but they don't. So make sure, as we have it in the brain, if you have not talked about your dwelling and coverage, like I had a chance to look at Colleen's, and they had a good policy, but just by pure nature of timing with the construction costs over the last 8 months, it's going to need more, right, to rebuild, knock on wood, if there's a clean. So dwelling coverage is a dollar amount to protect your home if it burns down or whatever. It's the insurance company's calculator that tells you that. It's just your job as a homeowner to tell your insurance company, these are the fun features I have, or this is the work we've done. I want to make sure I'm covered. Personal property, I talk about personal property all the time. It's just going to be a percentage of the dwelling, so it comes with it. You don't have to worry about it if you own a home. If you rent, you're telling the agent how much it is. But personal property is the best visual. If you take your home and turn it upside down and shake it, whatever falls out, it's going to be covered under personal property. But going to the thing of everyone thinks it's fine, insurance cares about 4 types of things on personal property in terms of sublimits. There's a handful, but the major 4 is it comes in regards to jewelry, guns, sports cards, like, trading cards, and then artwork. Jewelry is most common with wedding rings or watches. So even if on this example, you'd have $300,000 of coverage for your stuff, guess what the average limit for jewelry is? Any ideas? If you don't have
20,000, maybe
5,000 for jewelry, no more than 1,000 per piece. Because insurance companies don't care how much your couch is, your TV, they're going to make it right and get you organized. But when it comes to jewelry, if you don't have itemized things, or tell people, 5,000 total for jewelry, no more than 1,000 per piece. And so when the average person looks at this 300,000, they're like, oh, that's good, I'm fine. Not for the fun stuff. So I always spend most time talking about jewelry for 2 reasons. One is, if you have a whole bunch of nice stuff, but not one specific piece that's $5,000. You just have a whole bunch of stuff, then you can increase the limit. Instead of 5,000, make it 10, whatever. But if you have 1 or 2 pieces, like a fancy necklace, a wedding ring, a watch, anything over 1,500 per piece, you want to get what's called a floater or a rider. And the reason you do it is so if heaven forbid something happens to it, then you have the coverage for whatever it's worth. But the main reason you get it is it kicks in a coverage called mysterious disappearance. So say, this watch is from Kohl's, but say this is a Rolex and I have diamonds all around it. And I hit my hand out in a van, I had no idea. And a handful of my diamonds fell out. Well, I still have my watch or I still have my wedding ring. But now I'm like, what the heck, all my fancy diamonds rail off. And normal insurance does not cover that. It's a floater or rider would, because now it's mysterious disappearance. It's stolen, or more often than wedding rings, the stone will come out. So I had a couple, it was just heartbreaking. They were on their hands and knees in Safeway produce section for 2 hours because she had a 2-carat ring, so you'd think you'd be able to find it. But they were literally in the produce section the whole time because she had her ring when she was in the store and then she lost it. So unless it's covered, it's not covered. So food for that. And it's cheap. Man, to get $10,000 of jewelry coverage for most carriers is $100 a year. So you don't get that stuff for all of your jewelry, but for the important stuff you will. 2 other quick things. One is liability. Man, what I love about liability is it travels with you anywhere in the United States. So if you accidentally hurt someone, same thing on commercial pursuits, it pays for the other person's medical bills, time off work, and pain and suffering. So it's that coverage that if your dog bites someone, or someone trips on your pool, or you're out in a golf course or something, if you accidentally hurt someone, it's that, unless it's commercial, that liability is what's going to pay for them to put them back together. This is, guess how, so dog bites, it's always the tiny ones that cause the most damage, it seems like. So dog bites, no kidding, are 1/3 of liability claims across the country. Because it's that little nip that they do. I always say a friend's a friend until you have a claim. And it's that nip, or heaven forbid they get your face, or whatever the case is. But if you rent a home and you don't have renter's insurance, you won't have that coverage. It comes automatically with liability. So it's a cheap way to protect yourself, and I use that word on purpose. Deductible, cool thing, higher the deductible, the lower the cost. So just make sure as a homeowner, you're paying attention to that, because some people are like, oh, I want to do a $500 deductible. Nah, 1,000 or higher, you don't want to file small claims. For home insurance, you want to make it juicy. That's why. And last but not least, umbrella insurance. So this is the most misunderstood coverage, and it's the most value add because commercial has, Don, you have your commercial, which is good. But personal umbrella, it covers anything that goes awry. So if heaven forbid you hurt someone in an auto accident, knock on wood, kill them. Insurance company is going to cut you a check, and then if that's all the coverage you have, then you're on your own to defend yourself at that time, let alone pay for whatever happens. But if you have an umbrella policy, then the umbrella policy kicks in underneath. You have a dog bite, or you have, we had a gal fall down a set of stairs, accidentally, of course, but took someone down on her way. And she came back and sued my gal. Even though she's the one who fell down the stairs, she didn't do it on purpose because the gal didn't have health insurance. So she sued my gal to be able to pay for her medical bills. And it wasn't too dramatic, but it still costed, gosh, I think about $27,000. So that liability kicks on your home, but if it's above and beyond that, your umbrella. The average umbrella, 2 cars and 1 home, $22 a month. And I tell people that is $1 million lawyer in your corner. You're right. So and they're sold in increments of $1 million. So if you have 50,000 or you have 25,000, which is the state minimum with the general or progressive or farmers, whoever, and you, heaven forbid, hurt someone in an auto accident and you really, really hurt them and heaven forbid kill them, they're going to cut you a check. And that's about it. And then say, I'm so sorry, good luck to you, like that Ferrari example. But if you have $1 million in your corner, then now any insurance company is they're going to rally, right? They're going to say, okay, now let's really get in versus cut the check automatically, and let's make sure you're protected. The key with umbrella insurance is you just have to have higher auto limits, which is fine because it's just like Costco. No kidding, $8-10 a month is really all we're talking in terms of the difference to get you from good coverage to great coverage. And then you can have that umbrella. So my recommendation for people is, I think most people need an umbrella, but if you have a dog, you need an umbrella. If you have a pool, you need an umbrella. If you have kids are the worst. We had one kid young enough to be on a playground, but old enough to hurt each other, threw a rock, and his kid hit another kid in the eye. Of course, Murphy's Law was like a to-do in his procedure. And the eyesight was still there, thankfully, but it was like this whole thing. And he came back and sued my customer because his kid threw a rock at his kid and there was injury, understandably. So it's the liability coverage that kicks in. So food for thought. Think about an umbrella. It's the cheapest thing you can do to really protect yourself for the stuff that really rocks your finances. Any questions? You guys are such good sports. No one's sleeping. I already did the inventory. It's a win. Sometimes people are like, oh, you guys are good.
No, you're the best, Stephanie. Did anyone have any questions before we wrap up? Sonia, did you have any additional questions?
I'm good, actually. Thank you. I was just actually typing. I'm heading to another meeting, but
Yeah.
Okay,
Stephanie, great presentation. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
my
I'll
pleasure.
connect with you on LinkedIn and hopefully we
Perfect.
can have a one-to-one sometime. And Colleen, thanks for this. This is a great
Yeah.
platform. And yes, I look forward to joining you for the next one.
Sounds great,
Wonderful.
Sonia.
Thanks for the
Thank you so much.
opportunity.
And Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today and leading
Yes.
the charge on this. It was awesome as always. I love it so much. I'm glad Dawn's going to be bringing you in
Me too.
to her group. And I
That's
feel like
so-
I need to bring you in to my other group as well. Some of the ladies that maybe haven't heard you that should have been here today in my gold group of LEAP. So I have about 7 or 8 other ladies. I think I'd like to have you come in and do a discussion on one of our calls. So I think that'd
Oh,
be great.
thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, just my
Yeah.
thing is, man, if we can help keep each other safe, whichever, if it's just like a, hey, did you know? That's my, I feel like our jobs are done, and that's what's so
Yeah.
neat is you guys are all advocates for that. So it's neat to hear. So we're superheroes without capes.
That's so true. So if you guys can all connect with each other, your
Yes, I
information
will.
in the chat. Be sure to sign up for next week for Katrina Sawa. And you guys have a wonderful week and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye,
We'll talk to
everyone.
you later.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. See you,
Bye.
Steph. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.